Hey everybody, it's Mickie Giacomini from Let's Talk Shop, the show that brings you successful people sharing tips of success for you. Today I'm so excited because we have Tina Ball with us, and I'm thrilled she's here because so many families out there are suddenly finding themselves with a lot of togetherness at this time. And she is extremely passionate and an expert on mindful parenting. So Tina, thank you so much for being with us today.
Hi, how's it going, Mickey?
It's going great, even better now that you're here. So could you share a little bit about your background and how you got into this with what you do with mindful parenting?
Yeah, it really started as a long time ago. I studied mindfulness and how it would help me calm my body and put me in a present place. And then at 9.5 years old, my son had his first anxiety attack. So that was really a wake-up call for me to see where my own anxiety was affecting him and
Mm.
how I could teach him and give him skills to be more present in his body and calm those anxious triggers that he was having as even such a young child. So he's a very sensitive person. And so he's like a canary in the coal mine for me. So, and it really became a passion for me. I started studying the neuroscience behind it and all the psychology. So I'm kind of a geek in the science way and the woo-woo way. So yes, and I've also trained myself in certain body-centered healing techniques and trauma-related techniques, so I can help parents, find those ways to release themselves from the past so that they can be more grounded and centered for their children.
Oh, that's fantastic. Now, I am sure that you are probably, like many of us, fielding tons of calls over the last week or so. I know our business, we have been working with so many people that are freaking out about their businesses and trying to figure out how they're going to tweak them to go virtual and so forth. So, I mean, what are you seeing? What kind of calls are you getting? What kind of tweaks are you, what kind of pivots are you going through?
Right. Well, for me, my work at this point is with a majority of a school and their parent base, and I visit this classrooms in order to teach mindfulness to the grades, kindergarten through 8th grade. And so, I've had to completely put that offering online. So I'm teaching the teachers how to use Zoom, and I've kind of created this job for myself. The school has hired me to help them with that, and then I'm going to be able to offer mindfulness to the parents who and the kids, when they meet with their teachers. And I'm also doing mindfulness with the teachers as well, because this is a big transition for all of us. And
Right.
and to find the opportunity for growth and consciousness and ways to be mindful with how we're feeling about everything, and give ourselves some compassion about all that.
No, absolutely. That's fantastic. I'm curious about what do you see as some of the parents' biggest concerns at this time?
I have kind of two camps. One is really just they're sort of like hunkering down and feeling really blessed that they get this time with their kids. I
Hmm.
think it's just like the beginning for them as
The
far as,
honeymoon stage.
yeah, the honeymoon stage for sure.
Just you wait. I used to be a school teacher for many, many years.
Yeah,
Parents
yeah,
are going to really appreciate the teachers and the classified too after all of this. Let me tell you, there's going to be a whole new appreciation.
I know. Yeah. And, there's nothing like a kid to help you see where your room for improvement is on patience.
Exactly.
And so yeah, I think they feel and appreciate. Some of them are feeling and appreciating the slowdown
Hmm.
and really wanting to have some support there with ideas of things to do with their free time with the kids. And then there's ones that are just in overwhelm because
Sure.
their kids, they cannot stop working, or if they stop working, they're stretched out so far that they don't know how they'll make your car payments, or
Mm-hmm.
and so, but all of these things are the same, because what we're forgetting is that when we're being mindful, we come to the present moment, and and our body needs to relax, and we get in touch with the part of our brain that's creative, and the part of our brain that can see the other person's point of view. So we're there for our children,
Right.
in a loving presence. Because when we get back into our limbic brain, then we start living out of fear. We're thinking
Yes.
about all the horrible things that might happen in the future,
Mm-hmm.
and then our children feel that.
Oh,
And
sure.
yeah,
What ifs? What ifs? Those are so negative. They can be very negative, right?
right.
Yeah.
And what's funny is parents think that they can act like nothing's wrong or not talk about it, and kids are so perceptive. They're attuned to us. We are their source of security. Even
Mhm.
for our teens, I
Right.
really think that teens love to act like they don't care about us or need
Yeah.
us, but they really, really do.
They do. They do.
Yeah.
Don't let them push you away. They may try to push you away. That's just a natural thing. But at this
Mhm.
point in time, when they're running a little nervous too, they need their parents to be strong for them, even if
Yeah.
that means having some honest conversations about the, I don't know what's going to happen, but I do know we're doing everything we can now to protect you and keep you safe. Teenagers
Yes.
need to hear that too.
Yes. And they,
Adults need to hear that.
that's right. So telling that, I mean, that's my number one piece of advice right now.
Yeah.
Checking in with ourselves. This is a really powerful thing right here. This is the place on our body, and there's an acupressure point that creates oxytocin, and
Hmm.
that's a really good drug when you're feeling afraid. And it's like giving yourself a hug. It's telling yourself to breathe. And when we're talking to our kids, if we can remember to do that, like,
Yeah.
this is a message to someone subliminally that we're speaking from our heart.
Yeah.
And so it reminds us to speak from our heart. It helps us calm down, and it helps us get us into the part of the brain that's loving and compassionate and problem solving,
Mm.
and remembers what our true priorities are, which is, to love and be comforting to the ones that we love.
Yep.
So,
Mm.
yeah,
We
yeah.
all need that, and our kids
Yeah,
need
it's
it
such a
really
simple
big time.
thing, but yeah, we kind of, and it's funny, sometimes it's instinctual.
Yeah.
I study a form of Chinese medicine, called Eden energy medicine. It's
Oh,
based in that.
interesting.
And there's funny things that we do. This is also another calming, pressure
Huh.
point release,
Like
so
when I'm talking to my kids, and I'm that
yes,
doesn't feel calming.
or you're like,
Maybe
oh my
it is.
God, you're trying to,
Well,
this is an instinct. Yes, this is an instinct to soothe yourself.
I
This
guess
is
that
a
makes
self-soothing.
sense. It's funny because the hand on the heart thing, my family kind of, they've mentioned I do that a lot. I'll be like, no, I'm telling you, blah blah blah. And so I do that a lot. So as you're talking about, I'm trying not to put my hand up on my heart, because I know I do it all the
Yeah,
time. And
oh,
people
very
out there are
good.
gonna be like, oh yeah, she does it all the time. They could start a drinking game when they watch Let's Talk Shop on how many times I do that. I'm sure of it.
How funny. Well, there you go. You're like a well-equipped self-soother. That's good.
Here we go.
Yes. I'm not sure about that one.
So there you go, parents. We gave you all the tips you need to know. Hand on heart.
Yeah. Yeah,
Oh, we
but
have
it's
to laugh. It's so important.
because
I cannot say that enough.
right. Because I work so much with my focus is on parents of teens
Yeah.
because now my son's 22 and I'm seeing the results of his generation growing up with the digital age and
Mhm.
social media. They're really ending up with a lot of anxiety and self-doubt and addiction because those phones, as magical and powerful as they are, and that they can be used as, tool of light
Mhm.
and sacred, they
Yeah.
also are used in ways that can cause a lot of anxiety, and it can distract our children from
Yeah.
their real important growth, which is to know who they are inside. When we're looking at those screens and we're seeing what everyone else is doing, it's really hard for them to not compare themselves
Right.
and to not feel less than, because everybody's posting their best day
Of course.
and their best adventures, and they're
Mhm.
sitting at home doing homework or the dishes or whatever, and they feel less than. So I'm
Yeah.
trying to encourage parents to just, because it's been a big leap for this generation. We aren't really equipped to know how this affects their young brains.
Right.
So coming from a place of how we feel when we're totally overwhelmed by our all the things on our screens and all the distractions on our phones, and realizing that they even more have less window of tolerance for that sort of thing. Their
That makes
nervous
a
system
lot of
isn't
sense.
ready for that.
There you go. That makes a whole lot of sense. They're not fully developed yet, right? So
Mhm.
they're not, I mean, adults have trouble with this. So why would we think for one moment that a person who hasn't fully developed all their systems yet in their body can handle
Mhm.
all this? I mean, it would be ludicrous for us to actually think that, but we many times I think we forget about that point, you know. So being mindful of that they are still developing all these different systems in their body, we need to be mindful of that ourselves. So I don't
Yes.
know. I think
Yeah.
it's great.
But I try to do it in a way so that kids, like I work in a Waldorf school, so they're very anti-technology,
Okay.
but we can balance it, and we can
Sure.
teach. I think that that's what my son's generation, they grew up in this world that was so provided for them, and I think
Hmm.
as parents I didn't really know at the time. Well, like just in the last 10 years there's amazing neurobiology about what resilience
Yes.
how it's created, and it's
Hmm.
created from our children going out there and making mistakes and getting in trouble and doing the wrong thing and learning
Yep.
about consequences.
Yep.
And when they're on their devices and watching the world go by in this like confusing fantasy land,
Hmm.
they aren't gaining that resiliency and that self drive and that self knowing,
Right.
where they can go out into the world when they're old enough and go, this is what I know about myself. I love this and I want to
Hmm.
do this and I want to make this difference,
Hmm.
That
Right.
yeah. So I'm really, really excited because
I don't blame you.
I can help people from my own mistake, because I really am having to give that to my son now.
Yeah.
He's a great kid and he's very creative, but he's 22, and I would say maybe he reminds me of me when I was 16.
Yeah.
you
I
know
You're not the first to mention that. I'm
Hmm.
hearing a lot more people have observations that our youth right now tends to be a little bit more slower to mature in some areas. So it is
Yeah, they
interesting.
do know that the brain is not fully formed, and the frontal lobe, where
Mhm.
all the reasoning comes from, isn't really connected. in girls until about 18 or 19, and in boys it can be as old as 24, 26.
Yes, exactly.
So
Average.
it's a combination of that stuff going on and the lack of experience and
Sure.
ability to discern for himself,
Yeah.
and stand up for himself to be an individual, even though it's not the same as everyone else on YouTube or whatever.
Or whatever. Exactly. I know. They just have to understand everybody only posts the good things. They're not going to sit there and post pictures of themselves, washing dishes and cleaning up after the dog and stuff. That's not fun to post. So people are posting those little snippets of their day because that feels good to them to put out something positive. It's not all about doing dishes and everything. So, woo! But then it does set that presumption that person, everything great happens to them all the time. It's like, no, that's just what they want to put out in the world. They're just putting out their positives. So we have to
and
stop comparing.
and I think what we need to do is feel brave as parents to allow our children to be a little uncomfortable about that and other things. I think that especially in the Western world, or more first world, we are so able to protect our children from everything and give them every comfort that they want. And I am here as a testament to say that I wished I'd done that differently. That my daughter now, she doesn't want to empty the dishwasher,
Yeah.
and I really have to say it kindly and gently and repeat myself over and over again every morning. And I think that she, in the long run, actually loves and respects that boundary.
Yeah.
She has a purpose in our family. And so with this time right now of more time at home, teenagers especially are struggling because they love that social interaction and being with their friends. So I have made sort of situations where we do have play dates on her iPad, so that she can feel and be connected to her friends. But with the younger kids, I think boredom is a blessing. And
Can be.
this is where children learn to discern the difference between them and their friend, or them and what's going on the TV. It's by internally having experiences of boredom and then trying to decide what I want to do with myself, because I have a choice right now. And how am
Right.
I going to give myself pleasure somehow? That's how
And
we
I'm sure
decide.
that go ahead. I'm so sorry.
Well, that's how we discover who we are.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that those of you who are watching right now, I'm sure many of you are thinking about, well, gosh, every time I think I'm bored or my child's bored, I'm constantly trying to think of something to entertain them. But you know what? Sometimes it's the great catalyst for invention and so forth, because then they can actually become creative. Let them figure out what they're going to do to resolve their own boredom. Just my own little soapbox there.
Yeah.
Well,
Yep.
Tina, I really appreciate you sharing so much. We need to have you back on the show.
Oh, great.
So much. Oh my gosh, great information. So for those of you who are looking for more information from Tina, we're going to drop her information in on this episode so that you can contact her. She is just full of just so many ideas and tips and all kinds of strategies for all of you on mindful parenting. Thanks again, Tina.
Yeah, you bet. Bye.
Bye, everybody. Have a great time. We'll see you next time.